So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to call number 4 of this gift book club. Would you teach a fish to climb a tree? So, in the last three calls, we have seen how the brains of the X-Men kids, which are the ADD, ADHD, autistic, and OCD kids, they function. We saw how we can use certain tools and tips to communicate with them, and that they are much faster than us. They think with their whole brain function rather than the right and left brain functions, and they are very intuitive, very creative, and instead of making them adapt to our ways of learning and living, actually, we need to understand them. We need to learn their ways because they are the creators of the future of the world. With this, we move on to chapter 10 of the book, which is being in nature, connecting with animals, playing, and exploring the world. At any point of time, if you have a question, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask. Animals have tremendous gifts they can give to us if we are willing to receive them. Horses, in particular, want to take care of us. Have you ever noticed that sometimes after you ride a horse, you feel really expanded, joyful, and happy? Why does that occur? It is because you have been willing to receive from the horse. Gary Douglas has quoted that. Further, Gary says, I talked with a parent who asked, is it possible that we react to kids with ADD and other conditions as though there is something wrong with them because we are accustomed to the traditional ways of raising of children, where we say, sit down and shut up, eat when you are told, go to bed when it is your bedtime. So, actually, in this reality, we give children structures that this is how they have to function, this is the discipline that they have to follow, and when to do what and where. So they feel as if they don't have a choice. They are not even asked for. This person's perception was that an evolution of the species has been going on for some time. And this includes an evolution in the awareness of children. There is a generation coming through who are more aware and more active. And people are saying there is something wrong with this generation of kids. There must be something we need to do because disciplining them isn't working. This kind of discussion has been going on for many years. So, this is one of the problems with ADHD kids, that they are hyperactive, they cannot sit and in one place. Their attention span would not go beyond a few minutes. So everyone wants to tone them down and discipline them and be still and work in the ways in which we have worked. And how many times do we as parents catch ourselves saying that how good our times, how good we were as kids, and how abhi ke bacche kitne bigad gaye hain, all the fit. Then we are not even able to see the evolution of the species that is going on. Part of what is going on is that the perception of how to raise a child has shifted 180 degrees in recent times. In many respects, we have taken childhood away from children. Kids are given hours of homework to do even when they are in kindergarten. Their lives are highly organized and tightly scheduled. They have little time to play in unstructured ways, to be in nature, or to explore their world. When does a kid get to be a kid? They should be able to go outside and play, have a good time, and run around. Now, many of you who have kids are already aware that how much loaded they are with the homework, even during the summer vacations. And as it's now getting nearer the time when the schools would reopen, all the mothers and kids are panicking with all that homework that is remaining, right? So does it give the child that freedom to play, and they would actually learn when they play, and also when parents play with them and the teachers play with them. So play is their language. Playing is their language. One more thing to notice, that as Gary is talking here about the evolution of species with the new generation of kids that are born. So if any of you is aware of, or you can Google and see about indigo kids, indigo children, crystal children, and rainbow children. So somewhere around 1990s, there were a lot of indigo children with this is the basically I heard about it from the books of and the articles about from Doreen Virtue, whose even this tarot cards are and angel cards are very the popular. So if some of you are aware of Doreen Virtue, and she has given this, like she has written a lot about parenting these kids, how they are different, and we cannot make them sit down and do things their way, and they are so evolved even when they are born and when they are small, like small toddlers. So Indigo kids were somewhere around 1990s. 2000 born kids, many of them are crystal children. And the new generation, which is coming up now, are rainbow children. So they are further evolution of species that is going on, which is more conscious. They already know so much. And says, kids are so aware of the benefits of play. They are demanding to play, and they are letting us know how silly it is not to. Play serves many functions in a developing child. It is through play that a child's verbal language, physical, psychological, social, and cognitive or intellectual skills are developed. For young children whose verbal skills do not allow them to express themselves as us do, play is a primary form of communication. It is through their play that they share with us their inner world. It is by their invitation to us to play with them that we are afforded a glimpse of what their world looks like and feels like to them. Gary Landreth, one of the first child therapists to recognize the healing potential of bringing play into the therapy room, said, toys are words and play is language. I repeat that. Toys are words and play is language. So they form sentences out of their language. Their communication happens with what they do with the toys, how they put them in sequence, how they talk to them, whatever they do with the toys. A 4.5-year-old girl with a diagnosis of separation anxiety disorder was referred to me by her pediatrician. According to her mom, when it was time to go to school, the girl would wail and sob and cling to her. Mom was exhausted, as was her daughter, as was the staff at her preschool program. The girl was only attending school 4 half days instead of 5 full days per week, and mom was in despair. School staff reported that the girl sobbed and cried for a good proportion of the mornings, and that she refused to participate in classroom activities, kept to herself, made little eye contact, and did not respond to staff or other children. So, many of us, again, like as mothers of young kids who are just starting their schools, Parents struggle so much sending their kids to school, and they are crying over there, and they want to get back home. But then we don't even see what is going on with them, and what are they trying to communicate, what are they not liking about the school. In my initial meetings with mom, she described everything she had tried to assist her daughter, as well as all the suggestions she received from the school staff, relatives, and other parents, most of which were based on how wrong the girl's behavior was, none of which worked. I then met with her daughter. So Anne meets this little girl. She was a lovely girl, bright eyed, curious, and on the quiet side. She invited me into her play within a couple of sessions. I did not find her to be as she had been described to me at all. I asked her some questions as we played with dolls and the dollhouse. Me, could you tell me what it is about school that you so dislike? The girl says, no toys. Me, no toys? She was attending an alternative program that did in fact have toys, but there was no free play. The toys were to be played with in a certain way, in a certain place, at a certain time. The girl again said, no toys. Me, what it is like to be in a school with no toys? The girl says, not fun. Me, and that was it. 10 days later, her mom came back to see me by herself. She told me that on the day following our session, her daughter got herself up, dressed herself, and was eager to go to school. When they arrived at school, she said goodbye to her mom with no tears. That afternoon, she asked her mom if she would go to school all day, which she did after the holidays that were coming up. What if it was my simple acknowledgement that it is silly not to be able to play in school the way we were playing in the play therapy room was all the girl required to choose a different way of being with school? So they just want to be heard and acknowledged. And so we do all. We all also want that someone listens to us. We just want to be heard and seen, isn't it? And so are these little kids. But then to actually go into their world and to listen to what's going on, we need to understand their language. They would be able to say not in our way of language and in our communication, but then they would be able to say it in their own way, and we need to learn to listen to them. Dane says, kids need time to explore their world and see what it is like. They need to learn everything they can learn on their own, not just from a mental perspective, but from an energetic point of view. And says, a study conducted at the University of Illinois in 2011 found that kids diagnosed with ADHD have milder symptoms if they play outdoors in green grassy spaces and parks daily or at least several days a week. So they connect so well with nature and animals. If they are taken into nature and they are allowed to play in the like open areas, in the grass, among the trees, in the gardens, then they would feel less overwhelmed. They actually get more space. They feel more space over there. Gary says, a friend of ours has a farm and she invites kids with autism, OCD, ADD, and ADHD to go there to spend some time in nature with the animals. She said that after a few days of being there, the kids all settle down. There is a sense of peace there that they don't get in the city. In part, that is because many of them hear the electrical wires humming in the city. They are aware of the vibration that electricity creates. It is not a wrongness, it is an ability to perceive the vibration of the electric wires, which is everywhere in a city. And if you know, like the autistic people, they get very much irritated. They cannot tolerate that sound when something is being drilled, where there is this electrical like the noises and all of that. They cannot tolerate it. It's like they're bombarding their ears with loud, like unbearable sound. It appears to them that way. So it's very difficult for them. If you see this web service, The Good Doctor, you'll get to know many of the like ways, like many of the things that autistic people go through, and their capacities as well, and how what things like actually troubles them. The kids pick it up, but they have no reference point for what they are hearing, and they don't know what to do with it. When they go out away from the city, the buzz goes away. So there is a continuous buzz from this electrical wires that comes into when they hear it, that loud sound continuously. It like just it is too much for them. And when they go away into the farms, into the villages, when where there are less of these electrical wires, they feel more at peace. The other thing that contributes to their sense of peace is contact with the animals. We know a lady in the US who has been working with autistic kids and horses, and she said it's amazing how often kids who are out of control, the ones who scream, yell, and kick, become calm when they ride. She said, as soon as they get off the horse, they lie down on the ground and take a nap. The horse creates a sense of calm in the kids because it picks up on their wavelength. It telepathically understands what the kids are trying to say. So they feel heard by those animals. There are many horses with healing abilities that will take care of children. They will create a communion with kids in a very dynamic way. The horse always knows which kid it wants. It doesn't necessarily like all kids, and it won't have anything to do with the ones it doesn't like. But if it makes a connection with a kid, they can have an amazing relationship. This kind of connection and communion also happens between kids and other kinds of animals. Dogs, especially, like having a job, and many of them have great healing abilities. Our friend Susie, who is a dog whisperer of magnitude, told us about a dog she worked with. The dog's owner was a woman whose child had autism. The woman was overwhelmed by taking care of her child, and decided she can't deal with the dog and the child. So she gave the dog away. When the dog got to his new home, he started ripping up the carpet. So this dog, it wanted to go back to the child. So it was like, so the dog knew that the child needs that him so badly. At that point, Susie was called in to communicate with him, and it turned out that the dog knew he was beneficial to the autistic child, and he wanted to go back to be with him, but the original owner wouldn't allow that to occur. It was a shame because the dog clearly had abilities and wanted to make a contribution to the child. Animals are like people, they have different abilities. It is a tremendous gift for all kids, especially kids with autism, to have an odd animal in their life. Horses, in particular, are great because they communicate telepathically. They are so grateful when somebody receives their communication that they will nurture that person in a special way. So, if you have a kid who is autistic or ADHD or OCD, they have those traits. It's good to have a pet and it's good to allow them to ride horses, to spend time with animals and in nature. Any questions before we move on to chapter 11, the next chapter? And even if you do not have kids, but you are an adult who has any of these traits, it's always good to like go out in nature, be with trees and animals. The zone, that is chapter 11. These kids don't see the world the same way we do. We won't see through their eyes, which is our mistake. It is our wrongness, not theirs. We need to see what they see rather than try to get them to see things our way. Gary Douglas. Years ago, I used to train horses. And after I started doing access consciousness, I began to look for better ways to create a sense of communion and connection with the horses I worked with. In the course of doing this, I discovered that each horse has a zone in which everything is peaceful. So I'll read that again. Each horse has a zone in which everything is peaceful. In the zone, there is a sense of communion, connection, and knowing. I found when I worked with the horses that if I created a zone that matched the horses' zone, it was a place where we could both connect. So, zone is something like a space, an expansion that is created, a space outside of the body of the animal and outside of the body of you. So, you can call it like an extension of the aura or something. But then if you expand them, if you create a zone, if you just imagine that the animal is like their zone is expanding and they are that they you get present to their zone and you create a zone which is as big as their zone. It cannot be smaller than their zone. So you have to expand more. Your being needs to expand more, not your body. So when you expand and be in that zone, and when you, many of the animals who are ill and suffering, just by expanding their zone, by imagining that their zone is expanding, their zone just expands. It creates ease for them. Dane says it helps them to think about the zone in terms of space. This exercise might allow you to have more awareness of what the zone is. So all of you, please close your eyes right now. Unless you are driving or doing something where you would like hurt yourself. Otherwise, you can close your eyes. Reach out with your awareness and touch the 8 corners of the room you are in. With your eyes closed, get present to all the 8 corners of the room you are sitting in right now. Just expand your awareness out. Further expand your awareness with your eyes closed. Now expand your awareness out even further so that you are out 10 miles in all directions. Now 100. Now 500. Now 1,000. So this is all. This is how you expand and create more space, or you create your zone. And the same way you can create the zone for the animal you are working with. Gary says most of us tend to walk around with very little awareness of the space around us. Sometimes our space is the size of our brain. It is important to be aware of this because when we work with animals, we need to adjust our space to the amount of space the animal is comfortable with. All animals have a sense of awareness of space and a level at which they feel comfortable and secure. Have you ever had a dog or cat that liked to be in the house all the time and hated to go outside? The only area it was willing to occupy was the house. Or have you had an animal that only wanted to be outdoors? I have had cats that insisted on being outside. They would look up at the sky and all around them and check everything out. When you are with an animal like that, you have to have the same kind of awareness it has in order to be in communion and connection with you. So you have to match their zone. You have to expand. You have to expand your awareness so that then you can connect with that animal or the kid. Yeah. So the same goes with these kids, X-Men kids. Their zone is too much bigger than the zone of normal people. I have a stallion at a ranch near Santa Barbara, and in order to ride him, my space has to be about 18 miles out in all directions. A stallion's job is to protect the herd. So, if you are going to ride one, you need to occupy the same amount of space that it needs to occupy in order for it to feel safe and calm. If I close the space down when I ride my stallion, he goes frantic. He feels like he is being trapped. But if I extend my awareness out far enough, I can ride him into a herd of other horses and he walks along like a gelding. He's calm and comfortable because I perceive everything that he perceives and he feels safe. Now, how does it apply to people and with the X-Men kids? People have a zone too. There is a zone they occupy that is natural to them. This is the space in which they feel a sense of calm and safety and have the capacity to connect. Let's say you have a child who is overwhelmed by all the information he is receiving, because these kids are psychic. We read in the previous chapters that these kids are extremely psychic. They would like get so much information from the environment, from other people's heads, and unless they are made aware that all this information they are receiving is not theirs, and they can use the tools like who does it belong to return it to the sender, and they can just expand and let all those thoughts go away, then otherwise they would feel very overwhelmed. Like they would feel like this is especially true for people with OCD. Yeah. Now, the kid doesn't have the ability to limit the information that is coming in. He's picking up everything that is going on, including all the thoughts, feelings, and emotions of everyone around him. It is all there in his universe. There is no division between what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is bad, what is now and what is past, what is his and what is not. You can create the zone for him. When you create the zone for kids, you establish a place where connection and communion can exist, and they will begin to understand that they can create the zone for themselves. So you imagine the zone of the child, the space that the child is occupying, and you expand that space, expand that zone to the extent where they start feeling comfortable, where they start feeling calm. They have actually, in order to match the zones of other people who are very contractive around them, they contract their zones and then they feel overwhelmed. Initially, it is something you do for them. You take their energy and expand it into the zone. With a very young child, you can say, "Here you go, honey," and just expand the space he occupies. Gary says, all of a sudden, he will look around and you will know you have done it. You can also create the zone for kids when they are in challenging situations. For example, I talked with a teacher about a student who became very unsettled when he was in a school assembly surrounded by other kids. He would begin to make a lot of distracting noises. I said, if you can create the zone for him, he will start to feel the energy of it and it will get him more calm in his body. You just have to pull the space out so that he doesn't contract under those circumstances. Eventually he will recognize that he can expand and not be overstimulated. So this is particularly very beneficial for people who work with autistic and other kind of special need kids. They work in schools or they have kids who have this kind of uh, traits. You have to work at creating a sense of space for these kids because when things come at them, they feel so impacted. It is like somebody is continuously hitting them upside the head. They say, I can't deal with this, and they try to check out. Except there is no real way for somebody with so much awareness to check out. Keep creating that space, and they will begin to realize that there is a way for them to create it too. So, gradually, they will learn to create that space, that zone for themselves. They get educated. Once they feel you do it, they will ask, hey, what did mom or dad just do? What did the teacher just do? Oh, I can do that. Dane and I talked with a parent whose kids couldn't handle wearing clothing for longer periods of times. The kids always wanted to get naked. It was as if they were overloaded and confined by the sensory input they were receiving, including the feeling of the clothes they were wearing, not to mention the thoughts they were picking up from the people around them. We suggested that the parent expand the kids' zone. It is also helpful when you expand the zone for yourself. When you do this, the thoughts, feelings, and emotions you are picking up won't impact you the same way, and this calms and soothes your child. You can create that space, that zone in which they feel, oh, I have got more space. If you start doing this, it will help them tremendously and says, before I met Carrie and Dean, I did not realize that I was expanding the zone of the kids I worked with. I could not explain clearly how it was that kids who had disliked other therapists were able to connect with me so quickly and make so many gains. However, now it makes perfect sense to me. So, guys, you're getting it. You expand their zone and you expand your zone as well. And then you can connect with them. They feel at ease and they can talk to you more openly. They can share and you will get them. I create the zone for kids and for their parents, and it provides them with a space where there is peace and calm. They can relax. They are able to let down their guard and take a look at the elements in their lives and relationships that brought them to see me in the first place. Creating the zone for them is a way of letting them be without judging them and of asking questions so that they can become more aware of what they are creating and what other choices they could make. One of the ways I try to create the zone for kids is by totally receiving them. When I first meet them, it is as if I open up all the pores in my body. I look at them and say hi. It might seem like a simple greeting, but it is so much more than that. It is the energy of, I'm so glad our paths are crossing. You are awesome, just the way you are. Whatever you say or do is fine with me, and I will give you whatever space you require to have what you would like to have. You are welcome to join me in my space. When I do this, their response almost always is to relax, and often they then invite me into their space. The opposite of that is that in this reality, most of the people normally they are contracted, they put up energetic walls of separation. They are not allowing, they don't expand out, they don't put their walls down, and they are not willing to connect. They are just always defending themselves as if the others are the attackers. One of the ways I tried, sorry, I have been asked how I work with kids and who don't want to be in the play therapy room with me. I never force kids to come into the room with me if they don't want to. What I do is expand their zone, and with rare exceptions, they always choose to come into the room. The zone is the place we connect. Oftentimes, a kid's zone collapses when he or she feels criticized, invalidated, or wronged. When this occurs, it often helps kids expand their zones if I ask questions that assist them to see the truth for themselves. A 10-year-old girl who is brilliant, high functioning, and easily agitated recently came to see me again after a break of 3 years. She was scowling at me and her mom, unhappy about being back in my office. When I asked her why she had come back, she said, my mom thinks there is something wrong with my brain. I asked mom if she thought there was something wrong with her daughter's brain. Mom replied, no, not at all. The girl looked at me and without using any words said, not true. I asked her, would you like to know where I am with all that? She nodded, yes. I said, I don't think there is anything wrong with you. In fact, I think you are an amazingly talented girl with capacities that other people don't have. Can I ask you a couple of questions? She nodded, yes. Does your mind move quicker than other people's? She said, yes. Do you know what other people are thinking and feeling, even when they don't tell you with their words? She nodded yes. When somebody says or does something, can you tell how it is going to turn out, even before it happens? She nodded yes. Sometimes do you get frustrated or mad when people don't or can't keep up with you? She nodded yes. What if there was really nothing wrong with you? What if you could learn some tools so it was easier for you to be seen and heard and to have everything you would like to have in your life? So this is how Gary did, like invited that child to learn some tools without making that child wrong. So there is nothing wrong with them. But then in order to function in this reality with other people who are not like them, having some tools would ease their journey. Her body lightened up. She started to smile, then tried to stop herself, but couldn't before a giggle came out. Yes, her mom said. That's what I was trying to say. I just didn't know how. Kids love. being given permission to be in their zone. When they sense they have that permission, they become willing to learn tools they can use to be seen and heard so they can get along in the outside world with more ease and peace. I ask them if they can hold the space of who and where they are. Then, while holding that space and staying in their zone, if they can step into other people's worlds in order to give those people what they require. Gary says we can all function in this way all the time. I'll read that again. We can all function in this way all the time. Instead, we tend to contract our lives into a small space as though that is really all we have to worry about. When we do that, we create our worry space. But what about our awareness space? If we functioned with an expansive point of view, an awareness space, we wouldn't run into problems. It is definitely the space we want to function from. And that brings us to the end of chapter 11. Any questions?
So how do we like we expand ourselves? How do we expand for the children?
So, were you present, Pinky, when we did that?
Yes,
Right? When
yes,
we
yes,
closed
yes.
our eyes and we and expanded. So
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
how to expand for yourself, right?
yeah, yeah.
Hmm. So your question is, how do we expand that zone for the kid?
Yes,
Yes. Okay.
yeah,
So right now, if do you have a kid who is with having that problem?
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
like right now, I would invite you to like you might want to close your eyes and
Okay.
energetically connect with your kid
Hmm.
and get
Yeah.
present their zone right now. How big it is.
Hmm.
And like it could be, say, a few feet away from their body or just crumpled inside their body, whatever it is. Now,
Hmm.
imagine that that zone is expanding. As you do for yourself, the same way you do for your kid. It's expanding in, like, say, 10 miles, 10 kilometers in all directions from
Hmm.
their body, away from their body. Expand that zone. And then you expand it further 10 kilometers, then further 100 kilometers.
Oh God.
Got it? And then you match your zone with their zone. So whatever number of kilometers you could see, you can see that it's expanded out. You expand your zone also that much. You don't remain contracted, and then there is a space for both of you. There is enough space for both of you. You are occupied, you are in a different, like in a space that matches, that
Hmm.
frequencies are like matching. You are also occupying more space, they are also occupying more space, and then there is something where you can connect with them and there is a communion that can happen between the two of you. Make sense, Pinky?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so do we all want to read one more chapter? Okay, so it's a small chapter, let's do it. It's chapter 12. When kids seem far away. So there are times are there times when you feel that your child is lost somewhere? मतलब है तो सही, but you cannot find them. They seem to be so distant. There is no way you can connect with them. They are in their own world. They are confined. They won't let you in. They won't allow you to, like, they are not willing to talk. They don't want to, like, they share anything about them. Yeah. What is going on with them. Yeah. Because of autism, I was constantly thinking about what I saw in such extreme detail that it seemed like I wasn't thinking at all. A 12-year-old boy with autism says that, and says, sometimes kids become so wrapped up in what they are doing that it seems as if they disappear. We use phrases like in another world or wrapped up in their own world to describe them. When parents try to get their attention, oftentimes they are met with silence. To some, it appears as if their child did not even hear them. It would be easy to view this as a sign of disrespect, opposition, or defiance. So, how many of us had been scolded in our, like, especially during the teen years, yeah, when our one of our parents is calling us out, and we do it as parents, and like kids, we're so engrossed into something that we couldn't hear their voice, and we didn't respond, and then they would like be so irritated and shouting that you don't even have the manners to listen, and like na to jawab bhi nahi dete, like, do you all remember those days? And many of us are doing that to our kids. So then you'll have to acknowledge that they, like, how what to do with them, how to deal with them in when they are doing that, when they are in that phase. What if it is not disrespect? What if the kids are so tuned in to what they are doing that their parents' voice doesn't even register with them? Many kids just need some time to disconnect from what they are engaged in, especially if it is fun, before they can move on to something that is not so fun, like going to school or coming to the dinner table. So imagine a child playing video game and you calling them for the dinner. So a very, like, common thing to be seen in households when, or they are watching some like very interesting series on the TV, and you call them and they don't want to leave that. If we impatiently demand that they leave where they are and come back into this reality now, things usually don't go so well. They don't want to leave that quickly, and they push back hard, either by trying to block us out or by exploding. And then we get upset. What if the demand could be turned into an invitation or a request? I'll read that again. What if the demand could be turned into an invitation or a request? And what if the request could be presented in a way that is easier on you, your child, and everyone involved? What if you could approach them in a calm and respectful way so that they can hear, without saying abusive words, without scolding them, without telling them how they are, how wrong and bad they are, and how they have been doing this to you all these years, and how their future is bleak if they do this. Yeah. So what if we can give them respect and give them time, like give them, like, I have found it with my kids, like, more useful if I tell them that we are going to have dinner in 15 minutes. Can you please, like, wrap up whatever you are doing in that much time, and then we can have dinner together. So that is more respectful, that gives them, that's easier on them, that gives them enough time, and that is also, it sounds as a request. It doesn't come as a control on them, and no one likes to be controlled. Sometimes you can get a child's attention if you simply say hi. So acknowledge them. that they are there. Don't just ignore them because they are small or because they are your children. If you are in a rush, though, chances are pretty good your child will remain where she is. But if you can be present with her and tap into where she is, chances are much better that she will be willing to join you where you are. The parents of a 7-year-old boy who is on the autism spectrum and receiving services in his public school described to me how he loves being by himself and playing with Legos for hours at a time. Everyone else in the family, his parents and 3 siblings, are outgoing. They love to eat in restaurants, go out to movies, and travel to new places, none of which he likes to do. His mom told me that he was ruining family outings because he typically threw such big fits about going out that no one wanted to be with him. One day, when I was meeting with the parents alone, they asked me about all of this. Another word that we use with people like kids like that is they become a loner. They want to just be with themselves and playing with themselves. They don't want to go to social like public places or social functions. Mom's point of view was that her son needed to act more like the rest of the family and quit being so different. She was angry at him for controlling everyone. So the mom was angry with the child that he was controlling everyone by throwing such tantrums and not coming out and going out with the family. Her approach with her son tended to be confrontational, which invariably led to outbursts, tears, and despair. Dad was more relaxed about the boy. He tended to be more patient and to have a kinder view of his son's behavior, although he acknowledged that he too was frustrated by the frequent conflicts. Dad told me that the night before, when they had gone out to eat, their son had joined them without incident. He asked Mom whether she had noticed. She said, "Yeah, but it doesn't happen very often." So the mom was so controlling that she would not even acknowledge that and what was not grateful. She didn't thank him for for joining him that one day. Instead, she was that why doesn't it happen? She was still complaining. I asked them what had been different. Dad said that 20 minutes before it was time to leave the house, he had found his son playing with his Legos in the basement and had sat down next to him. He told me, but we just hung out together. And after a while, I reminded him that soon we would be leaving to go eat. He kept on playing. He showed me what he was doing, and I was right there with him. Every so often, I reminded him that we would be leaving. Then, when it was time to leave, he said he would rather stay home, but he put on his shoes and came anyway. Mom looked at him, paused, and said, "I don't have that kind of time." To which Dad replied, "But you have time for 3-hour tantrums." One of the underlying principles of my work with kids and families over the years has been that behavior is a form of communication. I ask parents, what is your child saying to you when he throws a tantrum? When he cries inconsolably? When he doesn't want to leave the house? When she disappears into her own world? What worked about the father's approach? My point of view is that by quietly hanging out with the boy, by acknowledging his interests and his preference for staying home, without trying to talk him out of it or suggesting that there was something wrong with him, the dad connected with his son energetically. He became an invitation to the boy to join him and the rest of the family in their evening out. What if that was all that was required for them to have a peaceful evening together? Kids can become so involved in doing things, it is almost as if they are in the book or they become the book, the game, or the movie rather than reading the book, watching the movie, or playing the game. Gary suggested the following questions, which I have found to be very effective in getting kids to join me where I am. These questions do, however, have to be asked in a friendly and non acquisitive way. Where are you? So, if you have a kid whom you feel that he is lost, you cannot find them, you cannot connect with them anymore. So, just right now, connect with them and ask them, where are you? Did you just disappear? Are you aware that you can stay outside the book and still be aware of everything in the book? Tool. So, the tool to be used is expanding out in all directions. So, my sons are now like they are adults. And as I'm reading this, and when I got this, I was like laughing that how much they have done that. My son had read, like the elder one like had read this Harry Potter, the books of Harry Potter, all the volumes at least 10 times without a break. He would just keep reading, keep reading, keep reading. Like no, like he didn't want to eat, he didn't want to do anything else, just read the book. And they watch the, like, have you seen, and some of us also do, watch those Netflix series in one go, the whole season in one go, or all the seasons in one go. They become so engrossed in all of that. Then shouting at them, demanding that they get out of it doesn't work. It's we have to get into their world rather than trying to pull them out of their world. And then we can lead them out, expanding our zone, expanding their zone, being with them, spending time with them, taking interest in their activities. If they are playing video games or computer games, like instead of asking them to get out of it, what if you could play with them for some time and enjoy, so that they feel acknowledged, they feel that they, yes, you are present with them, you they exist for you actually. So the tool, expanding out in all directions. When I work with kids, especially kids with whom so with who become so completely involved doing things that they resist being with others, I encourage them to have the awareness they have, and at the same time to see, listen, and hear here, right now, which expands their attention out in all directions. When they expand out in all directions, they can be aware of all that they are aware of and still function in this reality with teachers, parents, and other family members in a way that's easy on them and everyone around them. So when they expand out, that's how they can be present with this reality and still be present with all that they are so engrossed in. Here is a way you can teach kids to do this that I learned from Dane and then added to. It is something you can do yourself as well. Get comfortable, either sitting down or lying down. So you can all do that right now. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Relax. Get a sense of your being and your body. Get present with your body and your being separately. Your being is what goes on forever. Some people call it your soul or your spirit. Dr. Seuss says there is no one who is youer than you. So when we say you, it is actually we are referring to your being. Then get a sense of your body. Is your body in your being or is your being in your body? So who is inside whom? which is the bigger one and which is residing inside the other one. Your body is in your being. So your being is too big, too huge, like it's infinite. And your body is small. It is residing inside your being. Now, make your being bigger than your body. Make your being bigger. Expand your being. Bigger than your body, bigger than the room. Expand out in all directions, up, down, right, left, forward, backward, bigger. Bigger than your town, bigger than your country, bigger than the planet, bigger, bigger than from here to the moon, bigger than from here to Jupiter, all the way to the outside edges of the universe. There, from that space, is there anything upsetting you? Can you even see an upset? If you do this exercise with your kids, they will be able to do it by themselves. So sit down with your kids, do this small exercise of 2 minutes, 3 minutes with your kids, and they will learn how to expand and how to have that peace and calm. From that space, they will be able to give teachers, parents, other kids, or coaches whatever is required in the moment without losing themselves. Again, it is simple. Ask them to expand out and be present. They will get the hang of this quickly and they will see immediately how much easier life can be. Beware. If you teach these tools to your kids, they will offer to use them with you. A mother told me that she and her 6 and 9-year-old daughters were in their car on the highway. Mom, I have such a headache. 9-year-old. Mom, who does this belong to? Mom, laughing because the headache diminished instantaneously. Oh, not me. Thanks. 6-year-old. Mom, do you want me to help make you bigger? Mom, sure. 6-year-old. Okay, mom, shut your eyes. 9-year-old. Bad idea. She's driving. 6-year-old. Okay, mom, keep your eyes open and make yourself bigger than the car, bigger than the highway. How does it get any better than that? Expanding out is one of my favorite access consciousness tools, and I use it often. It creates space instantly in my body and allows me to respond and act differently and in ways that are so much easier on me and on everyone around me. Yeah. So expand out more. And as you do it more with your kids, they would start teaching you. So my son used to do it a lot. He still does at times that he did all the access classes with me when he was a child. And he would like every now and then he would remind me of the tools that I was not using and I could be using to get out of a difficult situation or a phase in my life. Though, so are you ready for the next tool after the expanding out? All good? So the tool is, who are you being? Where are you? My friend Tina is an occupational therapist in the public school system. She says she often uses a variation of the expanding out tool. One day she was working with a 5-year-old girl who has been diagnosed with autism, among other syndromes. The girl makes little to no eye contact. Frequently, she bangs her head on the floor, cries, screams, and ramps up into noisy, dramatic outbursts. On these occasions, Rina says the girl's name, then asks her, who are you being? Sometimes Trina has to repeat her name and the question several times. So you call out the person with that, with their name, the kid with the name, and then keep asking, who are you being? Who are you being? Preena has a gentle, soothing way about her. So she does this without being confrontation. When she does this, the girl almost or may always calms down and Preena will ask, where are you? At that point, Preena says, the girl calms down even more and makes eye contact with her. Preena then asks her, what if you could stay there and come and play with me here? When she does that, the girl maintains eye contact and is able to be present and play with her. My early training emphasized that seeming far away was a sign of disrespect. I knew at the time that it wasn't. I just didn't know what it was. I'm so grateful to have these tools to use and pass on. We encourage you to play with these tools, have fun with them, and let us know what you and your children are able to create together. So, Pinky and others, I would like to hear from you as you use these tools, what opens up for you, and do share. Use the tools and share
Yes.
the
Yes.
magic that you create. So the tool was, who are you being and where are you? Because
Yeah.
they might have left and then they need to come back, but then you have to tell them you can stay where you are. You can stay with yourself and still engage with others. They don't have to come outside of their body and go somewhere else to create engagement. They can stay and be have that expanded space and still like they can connect with others. That is what they have to learn to create more ease with themselves and with their bodies. Any questions? So great, everyone. Thank you for joining. And I'm having an access pass and the foundation class starting from 5th of June. So 5th of June would be the access pass class in Indore. 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, the 4 days that would be the foundation. It's not a retreat foundation. You can book your own place, or if you are in the Indore, you can join from your, like you can come from your home and be the part of these, like, so for some more amazing tools for you to function in this world with, like, and be that catalyst of change, be the ambassador of change, and like invite people to more possibilities. So have a lot of, like, lot many clearings, tools and body processes. The foundation is meant to change the whole foundation of your life. You break down all that you were functioning from, all those lies and myths and beliefs that you had, that has created limitations in your lives, and you open yourself up for more possibilities. So, Gaurav, is your question related to the book club that we are doing right now? If not, then please, this is not the platform. So for asking that, we are this is a book club and we are doing this book read. So sorry, I'll not be able to take any personal questions, any personal problems that you have. That will not be, that is not the purpose of this call. Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. And what can you receive from this book club? You being here was a contribution, was a gift. And what if your question is already answered? What can you look at? All the tools that we have talked about. What if you could use them all and create a change in your life? Yeah. So thank you everyone for joining in. Thank you for being here. Bye. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you again next one, Wednesday. Bye bye.